Morning.
Good morning.
So,
So this is Taslima Momin. I'm the owner of the property, 611 and 609 Jefferson Avenue.
Okay, thank you. The meeting will start at 9:30.
Okay, just
Thank you.
I don't know.
yes, we thought let's check that everything is okay. Thank you, sir.
Oh, looking good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh boy.
All right, Liz, it's 9:30. We can get started.
Okay, thank you. My name is Liz Kukla. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I'm going to read the preamble for you this morning. This is October 17th, 2022. In compliance with notification requirements of the city's open meeting law in section 101.021 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the city planning department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting have the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Please note that call-in users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube for public view. We have provided a link to the meeting for those who wish to speak on a particular case via our website and email. All requests to speak on a particular matter have
Where's the
been
chat
considered.
button?
We have also received emails from those who have
Oh, I see.
provided
It
written
says chat
comments on a
button. There you
particular
go. It
matter.
must be here. Okay.
Or you need to mute yourself. Thank you. Go ahead. Go ahead, Liz.
Yes, to
Great
all
job.
participants, please mute yourself while you're not speaking to us. Okay, Madam Chair, which part would you like me to continue with? I think I finished it.
Oh, you finished? Okay.
Yeah.
Great. All right. You can do the roll call then.
All right. Do we have Ms. Brown?
President.
Ms. Faith is absent today. Let me see, sorry. Ms. Holzer
Present.
and Ms. Britt.
Here.
Okay, Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
What
with-
about me?
A reminder to all participants, please mute your microphone until you are called upon to speak. Okay,
All right.
Madam
We
Chair.
got some postponements today.
Yes, we have two postponements here in front of you, calendar number 22-172, and that's regarding 2915 Detroit Avenue. AK Detroit My Place LLC proposed for alterations to establish use as a bar restaurant. This project, Madam Chair, we've received a request to combine with another case that's on October 31st. It works out as far as the staff is concerned. We are able to make that happen, provided that the board votes all right on that.
All right. That sounds fine with me.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So calendar number 22-172 regarding 2915 Detroit Avenue is postponed to October 31st. So the next
Right.
case is calendar number 22-132 regarding 7407 Union Avenue. And that is TMS Enterprises LTD proposed to establish a used car lot and a C2 local retail business district. If we could ask if the applicant is here. Not sure if the councilman was able to connect with him on this. According to Councilman Griffin, since the last hearing, he was not able to get in touch with the applicant. So at the last hearing, this board postponed it to allow time for the applicant to meet with the community and the council person. So I don't believe that that has happened, and therefore the councilman is asking for an additional postponement.
Hi, this is Marilyn from Slavic Village Development. I just spoke with the applicant, Tom Sullivan, and let him know of the councilman's request, and he was fine with that. And I was gonna let him know when the new date will be.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the best date, the earliest date for us would be November 14th. Then there's also November 21st after that. I guess to Ms. Mojinski, are they are expecting to have a public meeting on this? And how much time do they think they may need?
Yeah, councilman did want to do a public meeting. So I'm guessing, I know Chris Alvarado is also on here too. So Chris, do you think we should wait till the 21st for it? That way it'll give us enough time to get the meeting together?
I think that'll give us enough time, yes.
Great.
Okay,
So
Madam
November
Chair.
21st?
Yes, if you wanted to push it out another week, that would be November 28th, but November 21st works for this office.
All right, that works.
All right.
Thank you all.
Yes, and if you all feel like you won't be able to meet that, you know, just let us know ahead of time so then we can push it without having to bring you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, and that's all that I have this morning for postponements or withdrawals.
Great. I don't see any council people, so I think we can start with the first case.
Madam Chair, actually, Councilwoman Stephanie House is just logged in.
Oh, okay.
So that would be the St. Clair Avenue case.
All right, so our first case will be calendar number 22-176. This is at 6400-02 St. Clair Avenue. Thomas Richard Sr., owner, proposes to expand first floor use of bar and restaurant area into vacant space on the first floor, interior expansion only, in a C1 local retail business district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland codified ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there is one. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Brown for the oath.
Thank you and good morning. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply, I do, then state your name and your address, please.
I do. Ashraf Awad, 6408 St. Clair Avenue.
I do. Thomas Richard, 6400 St. Clair Avenue.
I do. Charles Blubaugh, 1075 East 64th.
I do. Christina Hermides, 1075 East 64th up, owner.
I do. Councilwoman Stephanie House, Ward 7.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. History of the property, please.
Madam Chair, could we have the attendees spell their name for us? The first person, I did not catch his full name, and if we can get him to spell it, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yes, it's ASHRAF, first name. Last name is AWAD. Property owner at 6408 St. Clair Avenue.
And then, Madam Chair, I think we had a Christina Armidi, and
Yes.
then there was another person with her. Could I have that spelling as well?
Okay. The name is Charles Blubaugh, BLUBAUGH at 1075 East 64th.
Down.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Now on to the history, Madam Chair. This property was originally zoned general retail in 1929. In 2003, it was changed to the local retail business district. In our records administration office, we found that in 1922, there was an addition to the building. 1924, a permit was issued to erect a garage on the property. 1926, a permit was issued to install brick veneer walls. And then, Madam Chair, we also found that in 1946, a structure was made on the site for fuel storage. 1950, a permit was issued to remodel storefront and interior alterations. 1964, there was a permit for aluminum siding to the rear wall only. There are no variances on file for this address. And we see that there was a violation notice in 2019 regarding hazardous conditions and condemnation at that time. Sorry, no condemnation. And that's all that I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Legal standard, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting an area variance from the parking regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. Who will be the spokesperson for this case?
Madam Chair, may I say one thing before you start testimony?
Sure.
Thank you. You may consider making the announcement about our lack of, about the number of members and the vote.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that. Thank you. What Member Brown is speaking about is because we don't have a full complement of board members, we only have 3. You are allowed to ask for a postponement once your case is called. Although we have not had a full complement of board members in a while, but this is 1 minus what we normally have. So if that's the case, when we call your case, you can let us know if you want to postpone until we have a full complement. Thank you, Ms. Brown.
You're welcome, Madam Chair.
Okay, who will be the spokesperson for this case?
I'm the spokesperson for 6400 St. Clair Avenue, Thomas Richard.
Thomas Richards? Okay, Mr. Richards, go ahead. Tell us what you'd like to do.
Yes, first off, good morning to everyone. I has resided in Ward 7 in family for over 50 years. Currently still reside here. Have had 2 businesses, bar areas for over 20 years in this ward area. Just a couple of facts that I want to point out, so I'm not a fly-by-night owner. I am someone who's currently in the ward and still resides there, as I spoke with Stephanie House as well. And according to, I would like to get area variance due to, as they read the history, as you guys have just read the history, for this non-conforming structural use. This has been enacted, before the zoning laws were enacted. I feel that this structure here should be grandfathered in because of for the area variance, because basically this building is a mixed usage building, and it has total 6 apartments and 2 storefronts. The storefront, 2 of the apartments are on the same floor as the storefront. So this would cause me a hardship to renovate the 2 storefronts for restaurant bar, and I would not be able to use the 2 storefronts. No one would want to live on the same floor as a restaurant bar, because it would be hard to rent that. Now, the 4 apartments that's over the top, I plan to have tenancy there. I wish, and I also put in the plans, the plans that I submitted, I also would like to have a patio structure, and I wanted to keep the 4-car garage for the tenancy there once I refurbish everything. And all of the the surrounding areas and that's adjacent and my neighboring, the neighboring businesses, I would like to work together with them because of the fact of the mixed, the basic off-street parking or the shared parking, because that's presently the way the buildings was structured. None of the buildings that have parking, ample parking. None of the way this building was structured had no ample parking. Now there are things that I can do, you know, as far as working along with my neighbors to compromise and to, you know, as far as time zones when I would be open, things of that nature. But I should be allowed area variance through to the fact that it definitely would create me a hardship, and I feel like I'd be deprived of all economic use and or benefit of the property. And yes, and I can provide financial evidence that in that effect. So the hardship is not common to the area or the neighborhood, and variance would not change the nature and the quality of the neighborhood. And like I said, I did not create the hardship. So I would like in the zoning district that's allowable by right, the property owner does not have to ask permission to have a permitted use, such as a restaurant in a commercial district. And the variance, the mixed use development is basically a lot of the buildings and structures that's there has mixed use in this area. You know, and like I said, I resided at 7513 St. Clair. I was there for 10 years. I've been on St. Clair area for over 20 years. I've never, my business name was J. Lou's Cocktail. I spoke with one of the neighbors that in question that I had a talk with and let them know that they named all of the bars in the area that was giving problems. And not even knowing that I had been there for over 20 years, and not once did he even knew the name of my place. So therefore, I have had the same liquor license for over 20 years, no violations. I've also never had any trouble with any areas that I have. I'm a current. This would be this business would be a family-owned operation. I have a gas station in Willowick, Ohio, that I also have. So I'm very experienced in this area, and I'm willing to work with my neighbors. And I'm also, I feel that I should get variance, area variance on the fact that these buildings are that's in this area. This building's been sitting for quite some time. I'm aware of the Croatian area, the Croatians, and I've wish to work with them. I don't wish to change or hinder anything. Also, there are other there's a lot there that's right across the street that I wish to obtain some type of understanding with that lot owner who you know, owns the lot. It's just right across the street from me. That's one of the options. There are also little lots on the same one-way street that's down but I didn't want to disturb my neighbors. I wanted to put the proper perspective in with them. But I did want to obtain, you know, permission. That's why I consulted these plans and sent them in. There's a lot of illegal things that's going on in that ward. As far as not even being mentioned for proper zoning laws. And if we want to, because I've been in this ward a long time, so I know what's going on in the ward, and that's why I want to be forthcoming with my neighbors to bring about to help be a part of the solution, not the problem. And I've always ran my businesses in the correct way. I understand what's going on in the area with a lot of the bars. A lot of these bars guys opening up businesses and restaurants or whatever have no experience. They're not
Hey,
even.
Mr. Richards, we're gonna keep it to your property. So I just want to
Okay.
get the facts. I just want to get the facts straight here. So you have a mixed-use building. You have apartments on the bottom, but you also have apartments on the lower half that is close to the restaurant bar area, and so you want to turn those apartments at the bottom to be part of the full restaurant bar area.
Yes,
that
yes,
correct?
because I
Okay.
won't be able to rent those out.
Oh, yeah, correct. You will not. No one wants to have an apartment next to a restaurant, next to a
Exactly.
restaurant. Okay, so what would the days and hours of operation be for this bar restaurant?
Well, before I commit to those days, I want to get with my surrounding neighbors and find out some of the things. And you know, I have a meeting with Stephanie House and the St. Clair Superior Coalition, and I was going to go to a lot of the neighbors to find out what days they open and days of operation. We're not even ready to be open at Ryan. We're still refurbishing, so I have not set my time and days, but. More than likely, I probably would only be open 4 days out the week.
Okay. All right. Who else do we have signed up to speak? Okay, Charles, would you like to speak now?
Good morning. My main concern, I live on East 64th Street. The property borders this bar restaurant. And if you look at the overhead map, the picture we're looking at right now, the East 64th Street, our property is the very next property. Okay, going south on St. Clair. We're concerned about parking on East 64th Street because that's going to, especially if it's a bar or restaurant, there's going to be a lot of traffic in front of our house. And when the bar lets out, there's going to be, I don't know what there's going to be. Right now, it's a very quiet street. My other question is the property directly across the street from East 64th Street on St. Clair, that is owned by St. Martin de Porres. That empty lot there that you can see, that's St. Martin de Porres property. And I was just wondering, is a liquor license allowed to be open that close to a high school? We have a lot of children. So those are my concerns, the parking on East 64th Street. And that's the only place I can see to park. Also, he talked about having a patio dining. That patio would be next to my property. So the very thing that he's saying you wouldn't want to rent an apartment next to a bar. Well, we are going to be living next to a bar. So there you go.
All right, thank you. Christine?
Yes. I am concerned about the parking, and there's a lot of little businesses that around us on St. Clair, like the Upcycle and the little shops. They're gonna have problems with parking, and East 64th is gonna be a problem with parking. I am concerned, yes, and I'm not happy about it. I think it's not feasible for that little street on East 64th to have that much parking. And St. Clair, all those little businesses, they're not going to have any parking because they're already parking on East 64th a lot of times. And the Slovenian home, whenever they have weddings and many things, they park on our street. Whenever there's a festival or something going on, there's a lot of parking at that moment. Now, restaurant, bar, I don't want to see a bar next to our house at all. That's it.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna call on the councilwoman now because according to testimony, there will be a public meeting at some point about this. So I'm feeling like that needs to happen first, but Councilwoman, can you expound on that?
Oh, I'm getting my video together. Sorry. Okay, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Yes, hopefully I can't see myself, but okay. Well, good morning, everyone. So Councilwoman Stephanie House of Ward 7. I was probably made aware of this it's two issues, like the transfer of the liquor license and what we're here for today, the zoning appeal regarding the parking lot. Just because I know there is a lot of varying opinions and feelings on this. I think it is very important to have a community conversation, really trying to figure out if we can come up with a win-win situation, or just a win-win for a community as well as business owners. Ward 7 is definitely open to being a partner with responsible business owners and with residents as well. We have to work to create real expectations and holding people to those things. And that is really a process that I have worked to incorporate it as I've assumed the role here as councilwoman, bringing people together so there's no question on who is responsible, and who we need to hold accountable when things go awry and things of that nature. So I would, for this particular property, I would like to get a postponement after we are able to have a community conversation to bring more people in and really think through with the challenges that are being brought up, right? When you have a resident that's next to a business and saying, well, I don't want that use, how do we really work to get to a level of compromise? I know that is not something that will be resolved today, and there are some historical things going on. I mean, there are just a lot of varying layers that need to be worked out before I think a decision can be made. So that's just kind of where I stand.
I think I agree with that. I think that this needs to go before the community before it comes back here, just due to the nature of the use. So Mr. Richards, are you amenable to having a community meeting and then coming back?
So, yes, you say a community meeting. If that's what the panel wishes to have, I don't see the need personally, because as I've said, this is a non-structural use. And I spoke with those neighbors that are that have the questions, and about this property. It will, there's talking about parking. As I foresaid, I would work, as far as the parking is concerned. The hours would not even conflict with them. They already have a auto body shop that's parking in front of it right now, in front of their home.
Okay, I understand that, but I think the issue is that you need to, reach a wider net with what you want to do with this building. And the councilwoman just testified that, she just became, aware of this. So I think it would just be in your best interest to talk to the community first, and then we'll put you back on the calendar. And then you can come back and those issues can be resolved or before you come back to us. So you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. All right, Liz, can we get a date, please?
Sure. November 14th is available again, November 21st, November 28th. How much time does the councilwoman believe she would need to pull this together?
Councilwoman?
I'm looking at my calendar right now. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
I would say potentially November 21st. maybe November 14th, but if we can, if I can, connect with, I will connect with St. Clair Superior Development, and then we have to actually, secure a location and then get communications out and things of that nature, and coming up with an agenda so that we can be able to answer some more definitive questions, even as we talked about hours of operation. You know what I'm saying? I think those things need to be very clear, with community members, and also bringing in our, and that, I guess that would be 5th District Police Department, our partners in law enforcement, just all the various things that would be necessary, so we can come to, like I said, a level of compromise, setting expectations, and so that we all are on the same page. And I think it's very important for business owners to develop relationships with community members, right? And that's just how I feel.
Okay, so we'll give you the 21st. And just like I told the previous case, if you're getting, closer to that date and feel like that, it won't happen, just let Ms. Kukla know so we can get you a different date. So you don't have to come back and then say we're not ready.
Yeah, no,
Right.
we should be ready at that time, but I appreciate the thought and the consideration for our
All right.
community at Betsy Summit. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Liz, so we'll put them on for the 21st.
Good, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I never even got a chance to say anything.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, but I think it's just best to hear from the community first on this one. So
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
thank you. All right, next case. Do we have any other council people, Maurice?
I did not see anybody else sign in.
All right. All right, we can start from the beginning.
All right, calendar number 22-170. This is at 611 Jefferson Avenue. TSM Holding LLC proposes to erect a second floor frame bedroom addition to an existing two-family residence in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 3. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Brown for the oath.
I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply, I do, then state your name and your address, please.
We do.
You do.
Okay,
I do.
could you please say your name and your address, please?
Taslima Momin. I'm the owner of TSM Holdings and 611 Jefferson Avenue. My present address is 6935 Woodlands Lane, Solon, Ohio 44139.
Ma'am, can you spell your name out for us, please?
Taslima Momin. TASLIMA. Last name Momin, MOMEN.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Sayed Zadi. I'm a general contractor, and right now I'm just an attendee. And my name's spelling is shown on the window. Thank you.
John Rakauskas, architect, 4352 Pearl Road, Suite C, Cleveland. And I'm the architect, and I'm going to be presenting.
Corey Reardon, Tremont West.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. History of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This property was originally zoned to general retail in 1929. 2005, it was changed to the current zoning of two-family. In our Records Administration Office, we found that in 1906, there was an addition made to the property. As well as in 1917, another addition was made. And then in 1937, a permit was issued to install a basement. And then, Madam Chair, In the more recent history, well, first, we did not find any variances on this address. Then in the more recent history found in 2002, a permit was issued to re-roof the property. And then also in 2002, a rental registration renewal was made on the property. That's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Legal standard, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the maximum gross floor area, required rear yard, and minimum required interior side yard regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Rookakis.
All right. Basically, the house had a fire fairly recently, and on the back portion of the building, and the owner has decided that it would really make a lot more sense to, instead of having the attic there, to put a floor and raise the roof by just extending the walls of that rear portion that's indicated there. What this really gives them is a much more competitive rental and a really up-to-date rental units. Right now, there are bedrooms that are like off the kitchen. The front unit is 2 stories. The back unit right now was 1 story, and this addition gives the front unit an additional bedroom that's a real bedroom and a bathroom with it, and the back unit gets really a big enough living area that's really like a loft and a really decent sized bedroom also. So basically, this 50% lot size is, I think it really is an anachronism in this area with all the development going on. And the intention, as I perceive it, of the embracement of density. And we're not adding another unit. We're just making these units more livable. In fact, I think many of the buildings in this area are already over that 50% lot size, and including this building, which is slightly over it already as it exists. Regarding the yards, we're not changing the yards. We're basically just raising the walls that are existing and fireproofing them as required by current code. And so basically that's, I think that's what I have to say.
All right, thank you. Did the owner, Ms. Momin, did you want to add anything to that, or you're yielding to the architect?
I want to add that
Okay.
609, the east side property, the adjacent property on the east side of 611, that is 609, and that is also my property under TSM Holdings. So I have no issues on that. I would be glad if you can, this is approved by your kind permission, and that would be really great. And I am looking forward to it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Reardon.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. This one kind of slipped off our radar. We did not get a chance to put this through the community review process. I reviewed it on Friday, seeing that this was the house that caught on fire, hoping that it was just a replacement of that based on the fire damage. There is some change. I don't have an objection, but it has not been reviewed by the block club and through our process. I would ask, if it does get approved, that John, you make yourself available to go over this with the block club just so they're aware of it moving forward. I, again, don't think that it's a problematic, but I would like the neighbors to be aware of it moving forward. And this has to do a little bit with the investor-led properties that we've been seeing again and again. So being reassured that this is a investor that is committed to the neighborhood and looking to do the right thing. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
I would be glad to do that.
All right, wonderful. Maurice?
Maurice Rowland, City Planning. I'd just like to point out, as John or Mr. Rakauskas has already pointed out, that items 2 and 3 are existing conditions. They're not going any further into the side yard. They're not going any further into the rear yard. It's a pretty basic addition. They're just raising the roof, really adding a second floor, which is, of course, which kicks in number 1. And as he said, and I think Mr. Reardon knows, it's very common in the Tremont area to go above the 50% threshold on the gross floor area. So we're in support of this. And we do agree that it would be great if Mr. Rakauskas could meet with the community. So we recommend approval.
Great, yeah, this seems fairly minor here. All right, board members, you got any questions or comments? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of calendar 22-170 at 611 Jefferson Avenue. Having heard testimony from TSM Holdings, an investor with 2 properties on Jefferson Avenue, and their general contractor regarding plans following a fire to restore and update the rental unit to make it more livable. And also having heard testimony from the Community Development Corporation and City Planning, that items 2 and 3 are existing conditions currently, and that item number 1 regarding lot size, 50% of the greater than 50% of the lot size is a common condition in Tremont, that this improvement should be allowed and will improve the property for future residents.
All right, thank you. Can I have a second, please?
Board Member Holzer, second.
Ms. Holzer with the second. Actually,
you want a friendly amendment about the community meeting?
I'm not gonna make that a condition of second. Okay, I'm not gonna make that a condition before they can get ratified, but I would like the architect to keep his word to saying that he will talk to the community about it.
If somebody could just let me know when that block club meeting would be, and I would be glad to attend.
Mr. Reardon, make sure you let Mr. Rakauskas know so he can provide all the information at the meeting.
Thank you.
All right. Go ahead, call the roll, please.
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Calendar number 22-170 is granted. It'll be ratified next week, and then we will send the appellant a letter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on.
Our next case is calendar number 22-175. This is at 3479 Tuttle Avenue. Michael Heff, owner, sorry, there's a lot of background noise, proposes to erect a 9-foot by 12-foot, 1-story frame detached roof covered deck in an A1 one-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there is one. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Brown for the oath.
I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply, I do.
I have to
State
run.
your name and your address, please.
And if you're not speaking, please mute yourself.
My name is Mike Hess, and I live at 3479 Tuttle Avenue.
Anyone else for this case?
Yeah, a guy I work with, he's got something to say about it.
Okay, is he on the call, sir?
I am. My name is Tim Bailey. I'm a co-worker of Mike Hess. I live in Lakewood, 17618 Franklin. I'm a friend of his.
Okay. Anyone else?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. History of the property, please.
What'd she say?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In our Records Administration Office, we only found that in 1957, a permit was issued to demolish and erect a new private frame garage on the property. And then there are no variances on file. And then in the more recent history, we found that in 2002, a permit was issued to install vinyl siding. In 2003, a permit was issued to erect a 24 by 24 garage. That's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Legal standard, please.
Madam Chair, members of the Board, Appellant is requesting an area variance from the accessory building regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Hess, tell us what you'd like to do.
Repeat that?
Tell me broke up.
Tell us what you want to do.
The video broke up and I lost part of it. So somebody's got to back up. The lady in these glasses was speaking, but I lost the video.
About 30 seconds of it.
30 seconds of it. So
You're
what was
just giving a background of the property. Now I'm asking you to tell us what you'd like to do. Explain your project.
You want to put up the 12-foot by
I
9
want to put up a 12 by 9 foot
detached deck.
detached deck
Deck's covered here.
with a cover on it, a roof, metal roof on it. And basically, that's it. But the variance, my calculations are Tim's calculations, that and a couple other people, it's less than 40%. It's 31%.
31.7.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm looking at the plans right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
He can give you the number.
Go back to the site plan.
I got the numbers if you like.
yeah, go ahead and give us the numbers while we're looking at this.
The total length from the street to the back of the property on the north side was 96.18 feet. If you subtract the distance to the back of the house, it comes out to be 48.18 feet on the north side. It's slightly longer on the south side because the back of the property is not parallel to the front of the property. So what I did was I took that 48.18 feet times 45 feet, which was the width of the property, and I came up with a oh shoot. I came up with the area of 2168.1 square feet. I added the triangular section, which was 1.9 feet on the south side, a triangle 0 on the north side, 1.9 feet on the south side by 45. And that came up to an area of 42.98 square feet. Then I subtracted the 50 square feet for a 5 by 10 foot kitchen nook that extends out from the back of the house. From the back of the house to come up with an area of 2161.08 square feet, which I then divided by 684, which is a combined area of the garage and the proposed deck. The garage being 576 square feet, the deck being 108 square feet. That ratio comes out to 31.65 plus percent, which I rounded up to 31.7, which is less than the 40, which is less than the 40% ratio, which is less than the 40% ratio, which is the limit for how much you can put in the backyard.
All right, thank you. Maurice, can you go to the next slide that shows the?
Yes, ma'am.
I can't.
Okay, and this structure will be in between your house and your garage?
Between my garage and my neighbor's house, but I'm going to be all 5 feet from the neighbor's garage. And actually, I had the property surveyed about a year ago, and I don't care, but part of the neighbor's property is on part of her garage is on my property, a couple inches. That's what the survey guy said. But that doesn't bother me. You know what I'm saying? I get along with my neighbors.
Okay.
Madam Chair, Mr. Riccardi does have his hand raised.
Okay. Mr. Riccardi.
To be noted that it's not 40% of the total rear yard that is required by the zoning. 40% of the required yard. And the required yard starts from the property line towards the house for 20 feet. So while I appreciate the calculations of the total yard, the really relevant portion is from the rear property line 20 feet forward. And as you can see, it is clearly more than 40%. So the variance is needed. Thank you.
What do you mean by
20
feet forward? Are you counting the backyard as only 20 feet from the back property line, and that's it?
That's correct.
So you're not counting the entire backyard?
That's correct.
And why would that be?
Sir, that's what the zoning code requires.
So the zoning code says
Thank you. Miss, yeah.
That's weird.
All right. Maurice.
Madam Chair, as you can tell from the pictures, this is a very well-maintained home, which is, anyway, this is just an exterior, it's an outside structure. It's not enclosed. It's just a deck with a roof on it. And for that reason, and it's a fairly good sized yard, and for that reason, we would recommend approval.
All right, thank you. Board members, any questions?
Madam Chair, no question from me, but I see a hand still up for Mr. Riccardi. I don't know if that has.
I think he didn't raise it back down.
Okay.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, hearing testimony from Mr. Hess, the property owner who proposes to erect a detached covered deck in the rear of his yard adjacent his garage, but a good distance from his neighbor's garage for enjoyment in his at his home. I move approval.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please?
Board Member Holzer, second.
Ms. Holzer with the second.
Madam Chair, if I could just make one quick mention, I forgot to show that there are 2 neighbors that are actually in support of this as well, which I meant to mention earlier and I forgot.
Okay, great. Thank you. Go ahead, call the roll, Ms. Kukla.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Britt.
Yes.
Calendar number 22-175 is granted. It'll be ratified next week when we meet again, and we will send the appellant a letter.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Enjoy.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
Next case.
Maurice, we should have Columbus Avenue on here.
Yeah, hold
Yeah,
on a
next
minute. I have
case.
experiencing a technical difficulty.
And I was muted. I was just asking if that's what we're doing next since it wasn't up.
Just be 1 second. There we go.
All right. So our next case, I think our last case, is calendar number 22-144. This is at 1720-36 Columbus Avenue. Go Life Columbus Oz Project LLC owner proposes to redevelop and establish use of existing four-story building for 45 apartments and 9,537 square feet space on first floor for retail use in a K4 semi-industry district and an urban form overlay district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there is one. And this case was originally postponed from August 29th, 2022 to allow the appellant time to work out a lease agreement or submit a plan that shows zero parking. With that, I will hand it over to Ms. Brown for the oath.
Thank you. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply, I do. State your name and your address, please.
I do. Melissa Spires, 2059 County Road 26, Marengo, Ohio.
I do. James Asimus, 3060 Maple Court, Cleveland, Ohio.
I do. Jim Havlin, Flats Ford, 1010 Euclid Avenue, 3rd floor.
I do. Ryan Stewart, owner of Riot LLC, located at 1738 Columbus Road, Cleveland, Ohio.
Anyone else?
Jack Eckey,
Hello?
1690 Columbus Road, Cleveland, Ohio.
I'm sorry, what's your name? I didn't catch that.
I do.
Sir, your last name.
What's your name?
ECKE, Eckey.
Thank you. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Did we get the history last time, Liz? I can't remember.
Yes, you did,
Yes,
Madam
we
Chair,
did.
but just as a reminder, with this case, it's unique in that the appellant submitted an application to Building and Housing showing 5 parking spaces at the rear in an area that used to be a street, which is now a vacated street. Half of that street has been split off and given to Mr. Eckey. The other half belongs to the appellant. So if you remember, those 5 parking spaces could not be accessed unless they went through Mr. Eckey's property, as he owned the front half as well as the rear part of that street. So it's a very unique situation. So at the time that there were discussions, Mr. Eckey was not willing to give an access agreement. So the appellant has requested 0 parking in this case. We have reposted it showing 0 parking. So I believe, and the appellant could explain further, that at this time they are providing no parking and requesting the entire code required parking spaces. I think that brings us up to speed, right, Madam Chair?
I believe so. Thank you. Legal standard, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting an area variance from the parking regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. Okay, who's going to be the spokesperson?
We'll have, go ahead, Melissa.
I'm the architect for the project. We also have James with the developer. James, if you want to say anything before I get started.
Sure thing. Just a couple of background pieces on this. Currently,
Yeah,
we've
just say
got,
who you are before you start talking, so we'll have a record.
this is James Asimus with the current property owner and the developer of the project. Currently, we have some diagonal parking spots in front of the building. As part of our working with the city on this, and with the new overlay on the district, those spots would go away, and we are a mid-block project. And so that's created some of the additional complexities with this project. We're excited at the potential to redevelop this, and in particular to rehab a lot of the existing structures that are there. With that, I'll let Melissa get into a little more of the details on our variance request.
Okay, thanks. This is 1720 to 1736 Columbus Road. We are calling this project The Pine. Go ahead, go to the next slide. This is just an overview of the zoning information and the site location. For the zoning code, we are 17 parking spaces, but we are not able to fit those on our existing site. Next slide.
Maurice, can you blow these up just a smidge, please?
Yeah, they're pretty small. This slide just kind of highlights a lot of the areas in the vicinity that have parking, whether it's parking lots or on-street parking, just to try to show that there is an abundance of parking in the area, even if we aren't able to get any on our site. Next slide, please. And this slide just shows the proximity to downtown and a lot of the working areas and city center. There's some things highlighted there, but those radiuses I think are like a quarter mile, a half mile, and 3/4 of a mile from our site to show that it's very walkable to all the downtown areas. Next slide. The National Walkability Index shows this as the most walkable. Next slide. Another map showing vicinity of mass transit, bus routes, train routes, all within half a mile, 10-minute walk, 15-minute walk. Next slide. Just a map of the bus routes, train routes that are available. So this is our building. The top photos on the left show separate buildings. Technically, they are buildings. On the north end is the three-story building, and then a 2-story building in the middle and a 1-story on the south end. And those are all being rehabbed into this one project. And then if you go to the bottom of the sheet, it shows the building from the vacated Winter Street. So that's what the.
Sorry, having a challenge trying
okay.
to zoom in here. It doesn't want to cooperate. There you go.
See the built for the vacated portion of the alley in the back. This does show that the angled parking that currently exists in the front on the sidewalk. But as James mentioned in our work with the DRB, we developed that streetscape so that parking no longer exists. Go to the next slide. So the proposed site plan, like I said, when we worked with DRB, we developed that streetscape. So there are now planting beds in that sidewalk. The curb will be reestablished, and then the existing parking lane in the street will remain. Oh, this is not the right site plan. I don't think this is the one I sent you the last time, because this still shows parking back there, and that's not right.
Yeah, this is all I have.
Oh, I sent something like a long time ago. Yeah, those parking spaces in the back are not there anymore because we took those all out.
So the essential footprint is the same, it's just
Yeah.
that parking is not, okay. we can
Exactly.
continue.
Everything is the same except that parking goes away in the back.
Okay,
We're not providing any parking on the site. Because that was the only space we had to do it in. This is the first floor plan. As you can see, the tenant spaces in orange on the left and right, and then the residential lobby in the center. We do have a bike storage room with room for up to 30 bikes in there for the residents to use. And then the upper floors were all apartments with, go ahead and go up to the fourth floor, has an amenity, a small amenity deck and a small fitness room for the residents. And then I think if you flip through the next slide, it just shows the elevations of the building, the proposed building. Which you can see we've kept the masonry facades of the existing buildings. I would clean and update those and then added onto them above. And there's a couple of renderings at the end, so you can see what the building will look like from Columbus Road, from the south, and then I think there's some from the north. Yeah, all of that has not changed. The only thing we changed was taking the parking out of the back.
gotcha.
I just wanted to give a little bit of context and background from what our organization has been doing. We've been working very closely with the appellate. The organization had a strong support for this project as it went through the design review committee. Actually want to compliment and congratulate him because we are undertaking a major stakeholder-driven Columbus Road Peninsula master plan. And this project was one that we really focused on as being a model. And we asked with the city for the appellate to remove spaces. And he did, because it's going to become a model for some of the streetscape on the entire Columbus Road Peninsula. However, we also have other members of Columbus Road Peninsula, Mr. Ecke is one of them, that we are concerned about as well. And to that point, I did introduce Mr. Ecke to Mr. Simis, and I'm not sure the status of the conversation, but we did want them to talk to see if they could find some mutual parking arrangements. But in the introduction, there are a lot of parking spaces available. We feel that between the available spaces and in this master plan, we are going to create new spaces as we move forward and we adopt a plan that eventually will go to city planning. We think that we'll be able to park this site. But I also want to be respectful to the adjacent property owners as well, but let you know that we were very supportive of it and that this could be provided as far as the variance. I think that would be very helpful for what we want to see happen on Columbus Road.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll just reiterate the point that the parking that's behind there on Winter Street has been removed. So that is not what we will be ruling on today. So we'll just make sure that's part of the record. Okay, Mr. Stewart.
Good morning. Point of clarification, if I may. So what will be ruled on today? What is the agenda item for ruling, since those 5 spaces are no longer?
Yeah, they're coming to us for no parking. So that's what we'll be ruling.
No parking. Okay,
Yes,
thank you
a
for
no
that
parking.
clarity.
Yes.
So forgive my ignorance. This is not my forte in the day-to-day world. If any of the images provided in this presentation, do they offer where the reference to current on-street or curb lane parking exists currently on Columbus? Is that visible on any of these images that I could question?
I believe this image up right now shows all of the parking that Mr. Haviland just told us, that all the parking that's available within the peninsula. So this slide that's up right now, everything in red is where parking is right now.
Okay, very good. That's what I thought I recalled seeing. So my concern here is I do own a partnership in Ride LLC, which is the adjacent property 1738. It is currently an empty and vacant building, but it is a building I regularly gain access to. It appears that this parking would block access to my building when I choose to access it. In addition, I have a non-legal interest in the property just south of 1738, being 1740 Columbus Road, which is Precision Straightening, which takes the property to the peninsula point of Leonard and Columbus, all of which is currently labeled as curb lane parking. that business operates with the need of semi trucks and other trucks delivering jobs and picking up jobs. And should cars be more frequent parking there, I appreciate that that is already existing parking, but at present, it has not become an issue, albeit parking on Leonard associated with other commercial neighbors in the neighborhood has been an ongoing issue of blocking access to that property. And the concern is that with 44 potential rental units, no provided parking spaces, and renters with vehicles being responsible for finding their own parking, it could be a free-for-all that results in impacts to access to my own building as well as the access for business operations to Precision at 1740. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the owner or Mr. Haviland want to respond to that at all?
I will defer.
You're muted.
No, there's no.
Sorry about that. What we wanted to show on this map here is street side parking that was available at one point or another throughout the day. I believe the property just to the south of us does have some restrictions on curbside parking, particularly during the hours of operation that they're typically engaged. The different parts of curbside parking throughout this peninsula are controlled at different points, but I'd say the most controlled of any kind of curbside parking is in front of those industrial uses that are still active. Precision straightening being one of those. We're happy to, as we develop this project and have people living there, keep them informed on making sure that they follow the parking restrictions presented from city signage, and trying to make sure that everyone can coexist in a peaceful way back here.
No, I appreciate
I was
that.
gonna say that anything with curbside parking or whatever, is actually a city issue. So if you're having people, block your entrance with their cars, like you need to, take that up with the city so that some enforcement can be done. So.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. At current time on the Columbus addresses of 1738 and 1740, that has not been an ongoing or recurring concern. I appreciate the clarity that there are restricted parking during the hours. At the moment, I'm not able to quote. I believe it's still 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And so that stretch is not currently impacted, albeit the property in question for renovation is also not occupied. So there is less persons finding interest in parking at present. The Leonard parking issue, I appreciate, is not restricted, and that just becomes ignorant persons not reading signs or obliging by codes and parking and so forth. But with all due respect, as other residents may occupy up to 44 units, if they are not themselves, even though they may be kindly reminded through the owners, however that may be, they may not be as respectful continuously of the restricted parking. And that's our fear.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Stewart.
Thank you.
Mr. Ecke?
Go ask him.
Say yes. She's talking to you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, did you swore in, so do you have anything you would like to say?
No, I'm fine. I guess the problem is that he had without no access back there. I mean, the first thing he sent back there was a couple big trucks that blocked my car wash and everything. And I told him when we first talked that I mean, you can't block it in.
Okay, but you're not objecting to the project?
Well, we are objecting to the part. I mean, every business down here is required to have parking.
Okay, yeah, but that's why they're coming to us to relieve that. So that's your standing, is you're objecting to the project?
Well, on-street parking on Columbus is a hazard because all the trucks go down there. You know, they ain't gonna get through. You know, there's delivery trucks and cement trucks and dump trucks. I don't see how he's got Columbus Road parking. Columbus Road could have on-street parking.
Okay, thank you. Maurice, or is there a planner here, or is it you?
There is no planner here. Madam Chair, I'd like to ask the applicant, have they any discussions with the property owner for the large parking lot across the street? And do you know what the hours of operation of that lot are, and potentially if your residents would be able to park in that parking lot, for example, for overnight parking, things like that? I think that would probably help ease some of the parking concerns of the residents, the people down there right now.
Yeah, we've talked. That was my question.
We've talked to the neighbor, the operator of the parking lot across the street. For a little bit more context with it, typically that has been parking for, excuse me, for Sherwin-Williams employees with their HQ construction and relocating R&D, which is a majority of people that park there. It's that and COVID with remote working. That's been a very underutilized parking lot. As such, they're open to it. We know that we're going to need parking for contractors during construction, and then also once construction is completed. They're open to renting us spaces on a monthly basis, be it for daily parking or overnight parking. And it's a convenient parking lot right across the street. Melissa's map that was shared in a previous slide as well highlights a couple other lots in the area that allow for additional parking there. We believe that across the street, it's a great opportunity for it. We've started a conversation with the owner of it, given that we've got anywhere from a 9 to 15 month construction timeline for this. A little early to memorialize that agreement, but in principle, we know where each stands and know that that's going to be a viable parking option for our residents if they so choose. We don't have any interest in renting spaces on a bulk rate and charging residents more, but simply facilitating it so that they'd be able to rent spaces there directly from the operator.
So Madam Chair, go ahead.
May I ask, who is that parking lot? Who owns that parking lot?
So the ownership and the operation is different. The ownership is owned by I believe it's a partnership of a few individuals that are local businessmen. It's operated by WDP.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Maurice.
Madam Chair, I think it would be helpful if there was a parking agreement in place for this project with having zero parking. That would be my only comment. Otherwise, we at City Planning, it's been approved. This project has been reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission, and we think this is a wonderful reuse of these buildings. So we are very supportive of the project. I just think that it would be a good idea to have some kind of parking agreement in place with the lot across the street. And I think it would go a long way to easing the concerns of the property owners down there now.
One thing that I think had been that wasn't brought up here with the new overlay district here, I believe the variance that we need parking for here, and Melissa, maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a reduced number of parking spots compared to what it would be in a non-overlay district.
Yeah, we are.
You're correct on that. Yeah.
17 spaces total for the building.
And Madam Chair, we do have Rick Riccardi with his hand raised. And Jim Haviland and Ryan Stewart.
I think
That was from before.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Riccardi, that he never put his hand down from before.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Haviland, go ahead.
Yes, I'll just be brief. With much respect for Mr. Rulins, I do agree it would be great to have an agreement in place, but I do have a concern if the property owner knows that he or she is controlling this project, she or he can ask a lot of money for that. And we have directed the developer to look at other spots. I mean, Canal Basin Park just brought a lot of land, a lot of parking online that the city controls. Flats Industrial Railroad owns some real estate as well. So I think to the extent that we don't limit his negotiation ability, even Mr. Ecke and Dina have spaces that they can make available that wouldn't impede their current operations, I think, and future plans that they may have for their property. And I think that there's still ongoing conversations, and I hate to see them be locked into one geographic location. That's my only comment.
And Madam Chair, just to comment on Mr. Heaven, I didn't mean to imply that we wanted them to be locked into that particular lot. That's just the obvious one across the street. And I am aware that there are many other lots, including, I believe, ones that Mr. Ecke owns that, they could enter an agreement. We would just like to see some kind of an agreement, I think, at some point, showing that there is overnight parking, because I know a lot of those spots down there are currently not overnight parking in those paid lots.
All right, thank you. Mr. Stewart?
Yes, thank you. I apologize if my question is not best suited for this audience, but appreciating everything that's been said. Should this move forward, what options might exist for better signage and/or allowable markings on the street that enhance and bring light to potential persons that want to park in the restricted area during the restricted hours? Is that something this committee can offer guidance on? Should we need to investigate how to make it more obvious to not park there? Is kind of my overarching question.
Yeah, it is outside of our purview here as Board of Zoning Appeals, but I believe that Mr. Haviland can probably help you get those concerns to the city as far as where signage should go. And Mr. Haviland has his hand up, so go ahead.
Yes, to that point, we are looking at Columbus Road comprehensively as part of this master plan. And the City of Cleveland City Planning Department is one of the sponsors of this master plan. So this will be looked at, and I wrote down what you had mentioned about the signage and better marking. But as we move forward with some recommendations, which includes a future stakeholder meeting, we can address these issues as part of that plan. So we'll be at the table with you on it. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Board, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, Madam Chair, I move approval for calendar 22-144, a proposed redevelopment of 3 historic buildings on Columbus Avenue into 44 apartments and first floor retail space. Regarding the variance, I propose approval of the 17 off-street parking spaces, waiving the requirement of the 17 off-street parking spaces as none are provided and proposed in the current site plan, acknowledging that the site plan that was viewed as part of this presentation incorrectly showed 5 spaces in the rear. It was part of the statement and presentation today that the site plan has been updated and the request is for 0 parking as part of the project. We consider that, and I am making this motion, having also heard testimony from Jim Haviland of Flats Forward regarding efforts in a current master plan being proposed that will address parking in the immediate area We also heard testimony from the project architect regarding the site's proximity to downtown and other near areas and the walkability of the site. And lastly, as we view the site plan, we are aware of a very large privately owned parking lot immediately across Columbus Avenue, and encourage the developer at an appropriate time to seek potential use agreements or contracts that would benefit the residents, understanding the cost for it, but would provide parking. So having said all of that, I move approval to waive the off-street parking requirements and support continuation of the proposed redevelopment.
Thank you. And I'll just add an amendment to make sure that we have the most up-to-date site plan on record, the one that does show there is no parking on Winter. Okay, with that, can I have a second, please?
Board Member Holzer, second.
Ms. Holzer with the second. Go ahead, call the roll.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Britt.
Yes.
122-144 is granted. It'll be ratified next week, and then we will send the appellants a letter.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marie.
All right, I believe that was our last case. Old business. Do we have it? Ah, there it is. So old business 1 through 4 without objection, board.
No objection.
No objection.
All right. Okay, this is a lot, Liz. What's going
Yeah.
on here?
So this is what happens when we have 3 agendas posted out. We have one that's coming up on Monday. They need to postpone. The Development Corporation and councilmen have requested the postponement to allow time for community review. Because this came in on Friday, you know, if you agree to postpone this, I can send out a notice today allowing the neighbors to know not to attend the meeting on Monday.
Yes.
So, and this is a community meeting, so what generally we do about 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
So that puts us at the end of November 28th. or the
28th.
21st.
Yep, the 28th. I think we're good on the 21st at this point. So
Right. It's
28th.
good. Okay, sounds great. And I believe Miss Priscilla Roca was here this morning listening in. She'll be joining us next Monday, October 24th.
All right. Well, we will welcome her then. We won't put her on the spot now, but we'll welcome her then.
All right.
And sounds good. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.